Well, our top story today from the Gateway Pundit, an explosive claim was made by journalist Steve Baker. He alleges that General Mark Milley approved heat and sound-directed energy weapons during the 2020 riots, claims that he has evidence to prove it. We're talking about this story and so much more here on the Gateway Pundit's Week in Review. My name is Elijah Schaffer, and this is the Week in Review. We cover the top 5 stories of the last 24 hours, Monday through Friday at thegatewaypundit.com. Don't forget to become an official Mug Club member. Get one of these amazing mugs and support independent media and journalism. Our top story comes from a Blaze clip where journalist Steve Baker alleges that General Mark Milley approved a heat and sound-directed energy weapon during the 2020 riots, claims that he has evidence to prove it. Check this out from Jim Hoff. Well, it turns out in a bombshell revelation during an appearance on Sarah Gonzalez's show Unfiltered on Blaze TV, investigative journalist Steve Baker has accused General Mark Milley, then chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, of authorizing the use of heat and sound-directed energy weapons against protesters during the violent riots that rocked Washington, D.C. in the summer of 2020. Baker claims to have photographic evidence. He even substantiates these allegations with a full expose promised in the coming days. Now, it can be recalled that during the summer of 2020, a series of protests and riots erupted across the United States following the death of George Floyd. Now, these events, often referred to as the, quote, Summer of Love, resulted in significant loss of life and property damage. Now, as many of you guys know that by early of June 2020, at least 19 deaths were reported in connection with the protests nationwide. I mean, 19 deaths is pretty crazy. They always say, right, that, the worst day in America was January 6, 2021, when Trump supporters murdered. Who? Oh, no, they didn't murder anyone. The real people that died were the people who were killed during the far-left communist riots in 2020. Now, that being said, in all, 114 police officers were assaulted at the Capitol Hill protests, but 180 officers were assaulted and injured during BLM riots just in Washington, D.C. in the summer of 2020. Over 700 police officers were injured in the BLM riots nationally, and that was just the first half of 2020. I mean, you got to talk about being absolutely ridiculous that we can even compare these two events, realizing that, things are a lot crazier than they might seem. Now, between May 26th and June 8th of 2020, you guys might remember that the riots caused an estimated $1 to $2 billion. Some estimates say even $3.8 billion, making them the costliest civil unrest in U.S. history. Now, speaking to host Sarah Gonzalez, Baker detailed the alleged deployment of heat and sound-directed energy weapons during the Summer of Love. Now, Steve Baker, who's an incredible journalist, and he has uncovered so many interesting aspects of riots and what went on during the civil unrest. He said these weapons are capable of emitting both super audible and sub-audible frequencies, can be used for crowd control or, more ominously, as tools to incite agitation and violence. We have more of the clip here, and I'm going to play it in just a second. But it is important that you not only watch this, but realize that there's lots of good shows directly on Blaze TV. One of these is Unfiltered by Sarah Gonzalez, and Steve Baker also has original stories at theblaze.com. You should check out all of those directly. Watch the clip, and you tell me what you think when you hear this information.
You keep coming up with these scoops regarding January 6th. Do you have anything else that's coming up?
Yeah, pay very close attention to probably, I thought it was going to be out today, but we got a couple little things we got to clean up on a new article. And we know for a fact now that General Mark Milley, who was the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff back under the previous Trump administration, we know that in June of 2020, during the riots in the Summer of Love here in D.C., he actually directed and ordered and authorized the use of both heat and sound directed energy weapons to be used against the protesters in that event. And we have the photography now to prove it, to back it up. And we're going to be coming out with that story tomorrow. And then we'll be launching a series off of that first article that will lead us to January 6th as well.
Which heat and sound, which would do what?
Well, it depends upon which switch is used. It depends. If they are using sound energy weapons, they can be super audible or they can be sub-audible. If they're set to super audible, that's supposed to scare people away from a riot. If they're set to sub-audible, it can make people go crazy in their head and force them into violence. They call those agitation weapons.
So I'm going to go back and I'm going to rewind about 10 minutes ago when I said that I believe that January 6th was total entrapment by the United States government in order to weaponize their own agencies against their people. I'm just going to go ahead and rewind, and I'm going to say that again, and I'm going to go ahead and double down on that at this point, Steve.
You probably have valid reasons to feel the way you feel.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely incredible. If that really occurred, and I have no reason to doubt Steve Baker, no reason to doubt Sarah or even Blaze. They have a great reputation when it comes to spitting the facts, and they're a friend of the Gateway Pundit. I do have to say, it is still shocking to hear that, and it makes me extremely curious in what actually is going on. Great work to the Blaze team on that discovery, and I hope that we get more information as the time comes out. Now, that being said, I want to remind you guys that this past year has been one of the hardest in MyPillow's history. MyPillow, the company run by Mike Lindell, one of Trump's greatest allies. Well, listen to this. It's because of you that we're making it through. Now, Mike Lindell, who's an amazing gentleman, his life story is absolutely beautiful, and his employees want to thank you for your continued support by extending their wholesale prices on classic MyPillows. You can get a standard classic MyPillow right now for only $14.98. Now, I can't even believe that I'm saying that. It's only $14.98. But listen to this, it gets even better. Upgrade to a queen size MyPillow for just $18.98 and a king size only $1 more. Get a body pillow for $29.98 and multi-use MyPillows for only $9.98. Go to mypillow.com, mypillow.com. Use my promo code Elijah, spelled ELIJAH. The link's on the screen and in the description. Or for those of you that don't like computers, you can pull out your phone and call 1-800-210-8491. Use the promo code Elijah to take advantage of these wholesale prices, including the standard MyPillow, originally $49.98, now just $14.98. And Queens, $18.98. Kings, only $1 more. Not only that, order $75 or more, ship absolutely free. Get the most comfortable pillow in America, made by one of the greatest conservative companies right now in the nick of time at mypillow.com, promo code Elijah. Check it out today. Now, in other news and developments of what's been going on here, and we know this is insane, it turns out not everybody is having the greatest week. Well, Mollie Hemingway has a hilarious take on the gift that Liz Cheney and the J6 committee gave to Republicans. Mike LaChance reported that there is truly a bright side to every situation. The challenge is looking for it. Now, in the case of Liz Cheney and the January 6th committee, conservative commentator Mollie Hemingway, an absolutely talented class act, sees one positive thing that came out of all of this. While she acknowledges the seriousness of the situation and all of the injustices that were done, she is happy that Liz Cheney has moved her toxic and neocon politics firmly into the Democrat Party. She made the comments while speaking to Maria Bartiromo on Fox Business. And I got to say, we are in a position where, maybe these people were Democrats the entire time. And when I was telling people that, this entire committee was absolutely a sham from the beginning and people didn't want to listen, maybe they should have, because I was right. Listen to her take on Liz Cheney. Watch.
Give us your reaction to President Biden issuing these medals.
Well, this award to Liz Cheney really is inappropriate. This is a woman who was hand-selected by Nancy Pelosi to run a committee that was extremely one-sided. Liz Cheney, in the course of running this committee to supposedly investigate the January 6th incident at the Capitol, she obstructed justice. She witness tampered. We have lots of reason to believe she witness tampered with Cassidy Hutchinson getting involved in that woman's actual legal representation. She hid evidence that exonerated Donald Trump. I mean, one of the big things that Liz Cheney had said was that Donald Trump had not, in fact, sought a presence at the Capitol to protect people who were protesting. And she had evidence when she conducted her interviews that the deputy chief of staff said he personally heard Donald Trump say that he thought 10,000 National Guard troops would be good, that he heard the chief of staff talk to the D.C. mayor encouraging her to request those troops. But she hid that evidence, completely failed to release that evidence until, and it only came out after Republicans took control of the House. This is not someone that you should be giving an award to, someone who's witness tampering, obstructing justice, and the like.
So do you think she broke the law? Because remember, in the last few weeks, there was some conversation about Biden issuing her a pardon. Is a pardon warranted?
Well, I think the pardon is being sought by people who know what she did because she is in legal jeopardy. At the very least, she should be investigated for this. But I also think it's just so interesting how much Democrats, I mean, the reason why she's getting the award is because she helped Democrats campaign. They thought that she was helpful. But you might remember that the Kamala Harris campaign had Liz Cheney out on the road. That was their closing message. If you vote for Kamala Harris, you're going to have people like Liz Cheney handling our foreign policy. And polling showed that that was actually a net negative with people on that campaign. So Liz Cheney, as awful as her behavior has been in these last few years, she did give Republicans this gift of taking her very unpopular, politically toxic neocon interventionism and moving it from the Republican Party now firmly into the Democrat Party. And
I mean, look, this is absolutely insane. I mean, these people, what are they thinking? Coming against the American public, lying to us, absolutely, despicably manipulating information and also taking the CCTV footage and not releasing it because we knew that it was an inside job from the very beginning. I mean, the manipulative tactics of these gaslighters is only something that I would expect from a Democrat. And the fact that they tried to call themselves Republicans in the process is just stupid. Now, of course, Jim Huff also reported that there was only one video on January 6th that you need to watch to understand who was responsible for the violence that day. It turns out that for the last 4 years, Democrats, their media, and the Biden administration have lied thousands of times about who was responsible for the violence on January 6th. Now, we know that three things had to happen in order for that violence to take place. Number one, Nancy Pelosi and Mayor Muriel Bowser had to block the National Guard from protecting the U.S. Capitol. Pelosi did this to be banning the President Trump's request for the National Guard troops at the Capitol that day. And then on January 6th, Nancy Pelosi stalled in calling the National Guard until late in the afternoon. Remember that. Capitol Police were ready and eager to fire munitions on innocent Americans peacefully protesting. Undercover government operatives and cutouts with the FBI, DOJ, DHS, BATFE, Capitol Police, etc. were operating inside the crowd. Remember Ray Epps. And to this day, Americans have had no idea that the federal agents were provoking the riot. They were uninformed that police and government agents were in the crowd. And the U.S. Capitol Police and D.C. Metro Police fired unrelenting munitions on the J6 protesters without warning. These actions sparked a riot an hour later. Now, investigative journalists released a video last year that exposes how innocent Trump supporters were set up that day by their government. The legacy media has yet to play this video for their audiences, but I have to say it is rather important because when it comes to the truth will set you free. Here's a time lapse of what happened. You tell me what you think. Check it out. Watch.
I have given warnings about chemical munitions. I need the less than lethal team position above me to start deploying. Launch! 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 You're on the wrong side of history! We need more fucking munitions! Let's go! Fucking shoot it! Go! Shoot! Shoot! USA! 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 Yep, they're deploying flashbangs on us. Keep me coming, motherfucker! Hey, put it down, douchebag! Put it down, douchebag! Stingbow deployed! Stingbow deployed! Stingbow deployed!
What's your ETA for I-3?
Hey, no one, what's your Stingbow! Stingbow!
23 up here. Pier 43 on the north side of I Street. Very large crowd coming down I Street. 51, I need you here, please. Four more Stingbow, put the
as one who was here and who has custody of these 44,000 hours of videos, I can attest there were acts of violence. There were acts of terrible violence that day. Even from what I had seen with my own eyes and through the media, I've seen acts of violence against police officers that I had not seen before. And it was brutal and it was ugly. And our officers on the line did what they needed to do at the time.
If they'd never thrown the concussion grenades, if they'd never used the pepper spray, this wouldn't have happened. It was a peaceful protest. I was standing within 15 feet of the line of officers. They started firing at us before anybody did anything to them. We were not rushing them. There was no advance on them. They just started throwing concussion grenades and pepper spray.
It's remarkable. Now, I can tell you from my own experience directly that yes, I do believe that police instigated the violence. People were peaceful and they started launching flashbangs and crowd munitions like rubber bullets, from what I think, and pellets into the crowd, which then agitated many people. Now, when we talk about the intricate way that it seemed like they wanted that to happen, but we are hitting a new era where things might be turning around, but I wouldn't count my blessings yet. Obviously, Mark Zuckerberg, is no longer going to be censoring the way that they were on Facebook and Instagram, getting rid of the fact checkers. That's pretty remarkable. But on top of that as well, you see Amazon giving a $40 million deal to some sort of a documentary or media deal to Melania Trump. I mean, she'll probably be on the front cover of Vogue at this point. But with all of our enemies suddenly, being on our side after they literally have imprisoned many of our allies from January 6th and tried to destroy, and kill Donald Trump, I sometimes am hesitant to wonder, are these people really our friends? Or, are they really triggering something else that we're not ready for in the future? Now, that being said, I also want to remind you just a simple update. UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer may cut Britain's security ties with US unless Trump distances himself from Elon Musk. Who thought that the United States losing allyship with the UK and breaking apart the Five Eyes would be in the card deck this year? That's pretty remarkable, right? Because the UK, New Zealand, Canada, the United States, Australia, and several others work together, in counterintelligence. They also work with Mossad and also work with Germany as well. So it is kind of interesting if we lose that alliance. That would be, I think, the first Islamic country that Trump lost security ties with. But turns out that the cracks are beginning to show in Britain and America's so-called special relationship. According to the BBC, British Prime Minister Keir Starmer may end his country's security partnership with the United States if Donald Trump does not distance himself from Elon Musk's recent comments on grooming gangs. Nick Watt, a reporter for the nightly current affairs show BBC, claims that Downing Street are going to give a hard-headed assessment of whether these views are held solely by Musk or by the administration as a whole. He explained, saying, "There is absolute horror at the highest levels of the government at the incendiary language that we have seen from Elon Musk. And there's going to be, as I understand it, a hard-headed assessment. Is this just the view of Elon Musk, or is it the view of the wider administration and the incoming president? If it's the latter, then there may well be some very, very serious questions about the nature of our ongoing security partnership with the United States." John Healey, the defense secretary today, was saying that the UK-US security relationship is the closest that we've got in the world. We're members of the Five Eyes group with the United States, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the UK. Can you have that level of sharing everything if this sort of stuff is endorsed by the next president of the United States? The answer is that question, does Trump agree with this? Don't know that one yet. Now, according to the BBC News, Britain's socialist government are considering entering their security relationship with the US. And we'll find out more about that over time, but I wouldn't be surprised if that actually ended up happening. Now, ultimately speaking, a 19-year-old's breasts balloon from a B cup. What is this story? I didn't put this in here. To a triple G after Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Researchers call it a first-of-its-kind case. That's crazy. All the girls in California and Los Angeles suddenly trying to get the COVID vaccine? Yeah, exactly. Well, it turns out that researchers from the University of Toronto have documented a rare instance of gynecomastia, abnormal and excessive breast growth, or gigantomastia. I guess gynecomastia is the guy's one. Gigantomastia. Following the administration of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine, the 19-year-old woman, previously healthy and with no notable medical history, experienced rapid breast enlargement just 1 week after receiving her first dose of the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine. Her condition worsened following the second dose, with her breast size increasing from a P cup to a triple G over 6 months. That's pretty crazy. So, I mean, look, this is censored, but, you know, if you're against seeing cleavage, then may want to turn the show off right now. However, these are some very, very large breasts. That's crazy. I mean, even for people that are into that, like that kind of stuff, that's still crazy. And imagine that you just grew from a vaccine. So I guess they just grew and grew and grew, and they're doing post-reduction. So that's insane. And I'll let you read the rest of that on the website, but maybe plastic surgery is over. COVID vaccines are now making breasts enlarge. That's more scary, especially for a guy. What if you got gigantomastia and I grew out large breasts from the vaccine? I wouldn't, not only because it's weird, but also I didn't take that stuff because that was poison, and I doubt that anybody would ever get another one of those doses again that has any common sense. Anyway, I'm Elijah Schaffer. Thank you for watching the Gateway Pundits Weekend Review. I'll see you tomorrow for another episode. Don't forget to join our mug club at thegatewaypundit.com. Get this great embossed mug. It's extremely comfortable in the hand. It drinks well. It'll literally fix your marriage. It'll correct your walk with God, and it may make your kids love you more. Now, I can't promise the last three, but it will make a great addition to your morning tea or your afternoon tea, whatever you like. Have a great rest of the week, and may God bless the United States of America. I'm signing out.